Hello and welcome to Book Talk. I'm Aarav and today I'm going to be reviewing the book Immune by Philipp Dettmer. Philipp Dettmer is the creator of Kurzgesagt, a science YouTube channel which is really informative and I definitely recommend you check it out. The book was released in 2021 and it talks about the immune system and how it responds to attacks by bacteria and viruses. It's divided into four parts. The first one being an explanation of DNA, cells, and how that relates to the immune system. This is very important as groundwork because it helps you understand what role these play. So, for example, DNA is really important when you're trying to understand proteins, and proteins are really important when you're trying to understand interactions, and it's all built upon everything else. So, the other three parts are about how different types of threats are managed by the immune system. It's very easy to read because it has simple language, and obviously that means you don't have to go to the dictionary every 2 seconds. It also has regular summaries, so if you've really gone over a heavy topic, you can read the summary if you want to go over it instead of actually reading the whole thing over again. It has short chapters which just sort of flow into one another, which is really very useful because as opposed to a long chapter where you just feel like taking a break, in a short chapter you're hooked on. It's recommended for people who are just getting started reading nonfiction because it uses the same layering structure that harder nonfiction books use, but it also has simple language and regular summaries, and this aids in your understanding. Another thing that helps your understanding is interesting visuals because they show a step by step process for something that is not necessarily intuitive. For example, when a virus infects a cell, it does a lot of things. It first makes a lot of copies of itself, and then the cell explodes and the virus particles are spread all over. So, to understand that, instead of just reading the text and visualizing it in your mind, there's actually a convenient little image provided, and that allows you to understand the different steps and what exactly the immune cells are doing. They're not just for entertainment, as I just mentioned, they're very useful to help you understand the book. My favorite is the image on the last page, which summarizes essentially everything that the book talks about. It's like images of various different cells and then how they attack. Well, they have arrows for what specific cell deals with what specific threat, and then how the immune cells interact with one another and how different cells activate one another. I can't get into it without actually explaining the whole immune system. The analogies are also very helpful because they help you get a tangible grasp on the immune system. See, the immune system is not something we deal with every day, so it can get really hard to understand what exactly he's talking about. So to use that, he's used various analogies. One of my favorites is macrophages, which are essentially the white blood cells that capture and kill viruses and bacteria. He compares them to black rhinos because bacteria and viruses are significantly smaller than macrophages. So it's like a human to a black rhino, and obviously they're as fierce as a black rhino if you're a bacteria because you're an invader. It's really very interesting. At the same time, they don't corrupt the meaning of the analogy. They don't make assumptions based on the analogy itself. Like, a macrophage isn't black just because it's being compared to a black rhino. So, I've seen books or people who do use analogies in that way, and it's really wrong because it it neglects the fact that the topic is separate and the analogy is separate. So, but it doesn't do that, which is what I really love. It has a border for its analogies. It also embodies the spirit of science because it's all from the beginning. It's all about the wonder that the immune system is. There's so much going on inside you and you don't realize it. So one example of this is when he was talking about cancer cells. The reason we don't get cancer for the rest of our lives is because we do have small cancerous cells, but they're hunted down by the immune system. And he literally reminds you that right now, your immune cells, when you have read the last few chapters, your immune cells have killed various cancer cells. So I can just imagine the cells going around and killing my cancer cells, which is very interesting. And it also accepts that the current knowledge of science is limited, because that's really important when you're trying to make new discoveries. It's important to accept that current knowledge of our body is still limited despite amazing technological progress. And I think that really promotes the message of this book even more. The tone is serious when talking about diseases, but it's not serious to the point of scariness, because it it really shows you how grave these diseases can be and how serious they are, but it doesn't really say you're going to die from it and apocalyptic stuff, because in the end it's all about understanding the immune system. Even the author himself went through cancer, he as he said in the beginning, in the introduction, but he still shows that the immune system deserves respect for what it is, and how amazing it really is. So, in conclusion, I'd recommend it for anyone who wants to understand what's going on inside their body. The really wonderful thing about this book, in the end, is that it shows how the immune system operates and allows you to connect that with the real world that you're experiencing right now. And at the same time, it really goes into the depth of what the immune system actually is. So that's all I have to say for this book. I don't think there's anything negative I actually have to say. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next time.